It's pretty safe to say that every author wants to sell as many books as they can. But how do you do that?
Well, from what we've learned on our podcast so far, it's pretty difficult. What you need to do is be writing guest blog posts, getting interviews on podcasts or radio shows, getting on television shows, and doing book signings, getting out there, having people see you with your book.
Well, it seems like it's pretty overwhelming, and that's why we think you should call our friend PJ Nunn at Breakthrough Promotions.
She has a series of different plans that you can choose from to get the promotion that you think is right for your book.
So head to breakthroughpromotions.net and see how PJ can help you.
You're listening to the Author Inside You podcast, a weekly podcast designed to motivate you to finish writing a book, choose a publisher, and have your work build an audience. Keep listening if you're looking to get propelled into the next chapter of your life. And now, it's the Author Inside You podcast with your host, Leah and Matt Rafferty.
Hello, and welcome to the Author Inside You podcast. I'm Matt Rafferty.
And I'm Leah Rafferty.
Joining us today is author Michael Witzgall, author of Sentinel's Choice. Mike has served on active duty in the Marine Corps, the U.S. Army Infantry, and the Military Police Corps. After retiring from the military, Mike went on to serve on the Dallas Police Force as a patrolman and as a member of the technical team. Currently, Mike teaches advanced SWAT courses and has written numerous articles for law enforcement magazines, and he's published tactical training manuals as well. Welcome, Mike. Thanks for joining us today.
Well, thank you for having me, Matt.
Well, thank you, Mike, for serving our country. And after looking at your resume, I'm just like, oh, wow, I'm tired, and it's just amazing what you have accomplished. So congratulations on your career.
Well, thank you very much.
Yeah.
I appreciate you saying so. I look great on paper, not so much in real life.
That's funny.
Yeah, that's good. So you did some writing for publications, but what made you decide to take the jump into writing a book?
After writing several articles, Patty Nunn, my agent, who you all are familiar with, hired me to do some crime scene lectures to writers' guilds. People were tired of their books, being messed up and stuff and being inaccurate with law enforcement and with the military. So I'd give these presentations and I'd tell law enforcement stories, which, if you know anything about law enforcement, it's a very target-rich environment for stories.
Yes.
And after a while, people kept telling me, you need to write these down, you need to write your own book.
Oh.
So that started me on that little adventure.
Wow, that's pretty interesting. We always talk about different opportunities that you never think about that come your way. And here, just by, well, first off, that someone asked you to come teach a class must have been something you weren't thinking about. And then people telling you, oh, you should write a book. I mean, another door opens.
You have to understand that in the military, I did not, how do I say this? I did not really learn to read or write effectively until I was a senior in high school. Okay. I was functionally illiterate.
Wow.
When you play sports and stuff like that, you get kind of passed along. At least back in the 70s, you did.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
So, in the Marine Corps, because of my job, I was in the Marine Corps Force Reconnaissance Teams, which, if you know anything about the Marine Corps, that's on par with the Navy SEALs and the Green Beret.
Wow. Okay.
Point being, I had to learn how to study. I had to learn how to read, how to write. More importantly, we were expected to also be teachers. And that's where I got my first taste and my first love of standing up in front of everybody and doing presentations, which was a natural carryover when Patty Nunn asked me to start doing these lectures.
Oh, okay. So that makes sense.
So then you did the lectures for authors so that they had a better understanding of what they should be writing about a police scene or a police situation.
That's correct. A lot of writers were, like I said earlier, they were tired of having their books not read or being criticized because of the inaccuracies in them. Most people only understand law enforcement from what they either see on the news or they see on TV.
Sure.
Were you writing articles that we talked about before? Were you writing articles before you became the expert with PJ Nunn, or was that?
Yeah, I've published, off the top of my head, 15 law enforcement training articles.
Great.
Some on leadership, some actually on training. One article that I wrote that was very well received, and I'm going to say surprisingly, was female warriors, women in SWAT was one of the articles I thought I'd get nuked on it, but by and large, it was one of the more favorably viewed articles.
Great. You think of males when it comes to SWAT generally.
Sure.
Yeah, but and yes, I agree. SWAT is technically the last bastion of the the male Neanderthal warrior. Mm-hmm. At least that's in a lot of our eyes. That's slowly changing. Women only represent about less than 1% of SWAT.
Wow.
Yet it's a talent. I don't know how to say this. It's a talent wasted if we don't recruit women into SWAT.
Well, congratulations to the women who are forging through. Excellent.
Yeah, they do a very good job. I'm very pleased with the students that I've had that just happen to be women.
Great.
Well, Mike, tell us a little bit about Sentinel's Choice.
Well, Sentinel's Choice is a murder mystery / thriller that takes place in Dallas, Texas. There is a serial killer on the loose of I'll phrase it, his targets are religious, high-profile religious targets, like ministers, even some televangelists and that type of thing. The protagonist is Renee Lafleet, spelled like a girl, but he's a guy. But he stumbles upon the fact that it's a serial killer, and he's a major part of an investigative team, what we call a CAPERS team, crimes against persons, or a homicide team everywhere else, that tracks down this serial killer.
So we're all going to learn a little bit about the terms that you guys use.
Yes, ma'am, you are.
Well, good.
One thing that in Sentinel's Choice, someone pointed out, I should have put a glossary of terms in.
Oh, interesting. Interesting. So this is neat, too, because then people are also learning from you. Not only is it a fun fictional book, but you also can learn something about your career. About the police.
Well, about the police, about homicide detectives in general. There's a lot of myths out there, again, promoted by, the media, TV, and that type of thing. And I try hard to, okay, Patty Nunn says I use a lot of sophomore humor. Well, that's just my nature anyway. But a lot of things to the protagonists in the book are just that. They're funny to him. He has the normal sarcastic law enforcement humor, but he also has, from his military days, he also has some pretty extreme PTSD that he deals with, and scars on his body that injuries that forced him out of the military, but he carries these scars inside him and outside of him.
Wow. Sounds like an interesting book. Well, what about the writing process? Did you find it difficult?
The first book, Sentinel's Choice, and that's what we're talking about, no, that really flowed. Now, Sentinel's Choice actually came out in December of 13, but it was published in 2014, and I'm just now getting the second book out, much to my embarrassment. Oh. The reason I mention that is the second book, I was warned that the second book would be harder to write, and boy, they did not lie to me.
So why do you think that is?
Well, one, you want to try and stay in character. Also, you want the story to flow. People that told me that weren't lying. It proved to be very difficult. Now, in my own defense, Matt, in the time since I wrote Sentinel's Choice and had it published, I've also taught 50 other SWAT schools.
Wow.
Yeah, all over the U.S.
When you had the first book finished, what were you doing to promote the book?
Well, the biggest thing was, and again, I refer to Patty Nunn. Patty lined up things like this, radio interviews, book signing, which I'll tell you up front, I view these things as tremendously enjoyable. I have a great time with them. A bit of advice I give new writers is hire a good agent. It may cost you a little money, and I know money's tight. Don't be afraid to hire an agent. Go to as many book signings, other people's book signings as you can. A lot of these, there's solidarity in this community.
Oh, that's nice to hear.
Mm-hmm.
We've all got advice. We've all learned lessons, man, the hard way.
Sure. Can we go back to the writing process? So
Yes.
you said that the second book was difficult to write, but what about the first book? Did you have an outline, or how did you decide where the story was going to go?
Well, what I did is, I've been thinking on the story for a while, since people had been, at these different conferences, had been talking to me about it. And I can't remember the person's name, but one of the guest speakers at one of these conferences gave me several hints. She said that, she wrote from an outline, but something else may suit me. What I ended up doing, Leah, is I ended up writing the end of the book first.
Interesting.
And then I shaped the characters around that. I outlined, and in an outline, I outlined who my bad guy would be, the protagonist, and the brother of his heart took a great deal of work. But on the other side of the coin, the lives that they have led before becoming law enforcement, at least the protagonist. His best friend is Rick Shannon, a former Navy SEAL turned priest.
What stage are you at in your second book?
We are just waiting on the absolute final review editing, which we're doing. My wife, Shelley Lynn, is doing it.
Okay.
Everybody looked at it. The cover has been approved. That was a problem. We had the cover approved. Then the gentleman that did it retired. There were copyright issues. So we had to have that changed. I mean, no hard feelings. It's just the way things worked. But I like this cover much, much better.
So how did you find someone else to do your cover?
Again, PJ, this is what she does, and she does it very, very well. She hooked us up with a graphic artist.
Great.
Went through several, do we like this? Do we like that? Settling on the one that looks a little bit like the first one with the Dallas skyline, but also a badge on the very front of it that takes up a lot of room, that has the badge number, and the badge number is the last number of each of the fallen 5 that we had in July a year and a half ago.
Oh, wow.
We had 5 officers ordered in line of duty. I took the last number off of each one of their badges and made up Ren LaFleet's badge number.
Wow.
That's very touching, yes.
So, I think I tell you that because, it was disappointing when the first cover didn't work out, but looking back, looking at what we have now, I'm really happy about it.
Very cool.
Your wife edited it? You said that was it? You didn't need any more editing?
A whole bunch of people have edited it.
Okay, so you do ask people. Okay.
Oh, yeah, I have it. Patty has, poor Patty. Patty has edited it. Then I had several very close friends. Then I had a professional go through it. Made the mistake of having an English teacher look at it, too.
Gosh.
Yeah, I had a mistake.
Yeah, it's funny. You look at something and think, oh, this looks really good. And then someone who really knows English is like, wait.
They rip it apart.
We've got everything ready. Everything is actually to a person that will upload it and publish it. And then it'll go into a paperback, of course. But we have the opportunity to review everything on how it's going to look in the book. And that's really what we're doing.
Great.
And who are you using to publish your books?
Well, we did self-publishing. We did our own little publishing company. Then, of course, Amazon, it was uploaded for Amazon. Barnes & Noble, you can order the books through them. Now, a really cool thing is that as a result of my first book signing that was at Barnes & Noble for Sentinel's Choice,
Great.
They put us on a watch list. And I talked to the manager there just a week or two ago, and she really wants to have us back for another book signing.
Oh, that's fantastic. Great.
What's a watch list?
Yeah, a watch list. Watch for this person, watch for this writer, and also with enough success and enough signings, Barnes & Noble might pick you up.
Great.
Yeah, they very infrequently do they pick up first-time writers. I mean, this is really kind of a cool thing for us.
Yes, yeah, you must have been very excited.
Yeah. Tried to not let it go to my head, but yeah.
That is very cool. So, Mike, do you have advice for other authors who are working on their first book right now and not being able to get it done?
Stick with it. If I could tell a young writer, or maybe a not so young writer, if you're not, again, some of the best advice I was given, if you're not writing the story, somebody else is, or something like that.
Right.
You got to stick with it. My goal, Matt, has never been to turn out books in a mill fashion. I want my books to be fun. I want them to be quality also. So it's going to take time.
Sure, that's time consuming.
Very, very time consuming, and you got to develop a thick skin. Everybody's a critic.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But that's stick with it. Just make time. What I do is I get up at like 4:30 in the morning, and I spend an hour or two writing almost every morning.
Wow, that's great.
And again, I mentioned about not being able to read or write till I was, about a senior in high school. This is a real joy for me. As is reading, I probably read 5 or 6 books a month.
Great.
I was so in the Marine Corps, people wouldn't think this, but I was very blessed because of the job I had. I had a captain, Steve Booth, and then another lieutenant, Jeffrey Powers, that made me sit down and read. I started with really kids' comic books, and by the time I left the Marine Corps, I'd read War and Peace.
Wow.
Because of those two men.
Going back to your book, what social media aspect have you found works best for you?
I got a lot of mileage out of an author's page on Facebook.
So what do you do on the author's page?
Well, what I do is, put pictures of book signings, calendar dates when I would be out at stores and stuff, just any means of advertisement. I've been told many times that websites are kind of, slowly becoming a thing of the past with other social media. But, honestly, Matt, Lee, I beg to differ because I've got a tremendous amount of emails wanting to talk about the book. Several people had some great ideas. They wanted to make recommendations on, and I know you'll laugh at this, but if they ever made the book into a movie, who would play the parts?
That's exciting.
Yeah.
That people were thinking like that.
I thought it was pretty funny, but yeah, that's kind of cool.
How's the best way for our listeners to get in touch with you?
Well, right now, my own personal email is the best way. That is CME, Charles Mike Edward, CME SWAT, SWAT, at AOL.com.
Excellent. Okay. We'll put that in the show notes if somebody wants to drop you a line or give a suggestion for who should star in your movie.
or Matt, Facebook, under Michael Witzgall or Charlie Mike Enterprises. Now, the author's page is Mike Witzgall.
Okay. So I'll put that in on the show notes also. Excellent. And then how about purchasing your book? Is Amazon the place to go?
Amazon right now is the place to go. You can get it on iPad and Kindle also. Or shoot me an email, and Shelly, my wife, has it set up. She can do PayPal and sign a book and send it to you.
Oh, very cool.
Oh, that's fun. Very fun. I have to think that when you go on your book tours or book signings that you are very enthusiastic for the people who show up.
Lee, I have a really good time with it. My buddies joke about when I am teaching SWAT that it's the Mike Witzgall show, comedy hour. I have a good time, high energy, and it's really the same thing when I'm doing lectures for, Patty, or I did a lecture for the Lions Club and the Rotary Club and some other people. You don't want to sit there in an audience and be bored.
Right.
You want somebody that's energetic, somebody that's excited about what they're doing.
Agreed.
Right. Which is fantastic for a book signing too, because you've kind of walked by some book signings in bookstores and seen the author sitting there a little bored, but that's not the impression that you want to give.
Right. If you see someone with personality, you're like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
But not that. I mean, some people just it is a personality trait. So.
Yeah, even if again something I was told and I agree with. Even if there's only 1 or 2 people that show up for your book signing, and maybe those are by accident, treat them like they mean the world to you.
Mm-hmm.
Sure, because they do, right? They're there. They took the time to stop.
Show up. Yeah, that's great advice.
And who knows who they'll tell and where this will lead to.
You never know.
Right.
You never know.
They could be a TV reporter out looking for their next story, and there they meet you.
Or the film director.
A friend of Brad Pitt's who's looking for this next movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, Mike, it's been great talking to you today. Thank you very much for enlightening us on your career and the books you've written. It's been great talking to you.
Well, thank you so much, Matt. And Matt, Leah, I really look forward to doing this again. This was a lot of fun. And please stay in contact. We're friends on Facebook now, Matt, so don't be a stranger.
Right. Okay. Excellent, Mike.
Well, Matt, it seems that Mike is very happy with PJ Nunn and Breakthrough Promotions.
Absolutely. He seems to be a big proponent of getting a publicist once your book is written.
If you're looking for a promotion team that makes you feel like you're part of the family,
check out breakthroughpromotions.net.
Thank you for listening to the Author Inside You podcast with your host, Leah and Matt Rafferty.